Hello and welcome back to another episode of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Jonathan Domow, here with our forecaster, Rebecca Newell. And Rebecca, what can students expect on their way home for spring break?
Yeah, it's going to be a mixed bag weather-wise, although we are planning on a little bit of a warm-up, so we shouldn't be expecting any snow or ice.
We'll hear more about that in just a moment, but first, here is Nature in the News.
Off the coast of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, one of the last thriving coral reefs in the continental United States is facing destruction from a major federal project. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is advancing plans to deepen and widen the shipping channel into Port Everglades, a move being justified by the need to accommodate larger cargo and tanker ships. But the dredging could obliterate the reef, smothering coral with sediment and reversing years of ecological recovery. This may become the largest damage to U.S. coral reefs on record, putting millions of corals, endangered species, and vital marine habitats at risk. Port supporters say the project will boost regional trade and jobs and include costly mitigation, while environmentalists call it a repeat of the past dredging damage that decimated reefs near Miami.
A recent Associated Press report highlights a new study showing that North American bird populations are declining faster than scientists expected. Researchers found that billions of birds have disappeared over the past several decades, and many species continue to decline due to a combination of habitat loss, intensive agriculture, and climate change. Warming temperatures are altering ecosystems and migration patterns, making it harder for birds to find food and suitable breeding grounds. Scientists warn that this accelerating decline is a signal that environmental systems are under increasing stress and could have broader impacts on ecosystems, since birds play important roles in controlling insects, spreading seeds, and maintaining biodiversity. The study suggests that stronger conservation efforts and habitat protections will be necessary to slow the loss of bird populations across North America.
Air pollution from power plants in the United States rose sharply in 2025. A deviation from the overall downward trend over the past 30 years. The steady reductions were driven largely by coal plant retirements and expanded renewable energy, but emissions are increasing as utilities are beginning to rely more heavily on fossil fuels. A surge in electricity demand, fueled greatly by growing data centers, pushed many power companies to burn more coal and natural gas. At the same time, some older coal plants that were expected to retire remained online longer than expected, contributing to the spike in carbon dioxide and other pollutants. The increase complicates national climate goals, as the power sector has historically been one of the largest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. Further increase in industry nationwide has the potential to keep pollution levels elevated.
A new scientific study published in the journal Nature says that scientists have underestimated the current height of coastal waters, meaning millions more people could be at risk from sea level rise. Researchers found that about 90% of past sea level studies underestimated baseline coastal water heights by roughly 1 foot because of differences in how ocean levels and land elevation were measured. Many models assumed a simplified zero sea level that did not fully account for waves, tides, and currents, leading to projections that may have underestimated flooding risk. If these corrections are applied, rising seas could threaten 37% more land and between 77 million and 132 million more people by the end of the century, if sea levels rise about 1 meter. The greatest impact is expected in Southeast Asia and island nations in the Pacific, where many communities already faced coastal erosion and flooding. Scientists say the findings highlight the need for more accurate measurements so governments can better plan for climate change and coastal protection.
As spring break approaches, spirits are high in Happy Valley, and so are the temperatures. As we head into your weekend, temperatures are on the rise, although on Friday, that warmth is going to be trapped behind the mountain ranges in the western portion of the Commonwealth. So a lot of that warmth is going to be, like I mentioned, in the western portion of the Commonwealth and as well as over the Midwest, bringing some stormy conditions to them, which we could be seeing on Saturday as that system advances and that warmth and instability gets closer to us. Now, the precipitation is going to be quite widespread and kind of last throughout the entire day on Saturday. So if you do have travel plans to get out of State College for spring break, I would recommend either leaving Friday or Sunday, as after that disturbance moves out, mild conditions are going to replace it. There's going to be a bit of a cool down after Saturday with that rain that came, but it is still expected to be 10 to 15 degrees above average temperature-wise. Now, Friday, here's your recap. A high of 57. It's going to be overcast with a few spotty showers, but overall it's going to be too dry on Friday for anything great. Now, as that system advances, Friday night we're going to see the real rain start to arrive with Saturday a high of 68 with thunderstorms possible. Now, Saturday night, we're going to be seeing mostly cloudy conditions as we head into Sunday, where things mellow out with a high of 60. Still warm, but not quite as warm as what we saw Saturday. Now, here is your Whether or Not feature from Frank on the Storm Prediction Center's graphic updates.
With meteorological spring beginning on March 1st, severe weather season is around the corner, and in some places, it's already begun. Each year, severe weather devastates communities, bringing strong winds, large hail, and violent tornadoes to many regions across the United States. Therefore, an important way to keep communities and people safe is by properly warning these storms ahead of their impacts. One of the agencies that does this is the SPC, better known as the Storm Prediction Center. The Storm Prediction Center releases convective outlooks each day showing where severe weather is or isn't possible from the day of, the next day, and even up to a week out. However, on March 3rd, 2026, the Storm Prediction Center updated its convective outlook maps, adding new intensity levels. Let's take a look at these new intensity levels and how they differ from the previous system.
First, let's go over the history of the Storm Prediction Center. The organization that is now the Storm Prediction Center, or SPC, began in 1952 as the Severe Local Storms Unit, or SELS, within the U.S. Weather Bureau in Washington, D.C., tasked with issuing tornado and severe weather forecasts. In 1954, SELS moved to Kansas City, Missouri, and in 1966, it was renamed the National Severe Storms Forecast Center, or NSSFC, due to expanded responsibilities including issuing radar summaries and convective outlooks. The NSSFC remained in Kansas City until October of 1995, when it then relocated to Norman, Oklahoma, and was officially rebranded as the Storm Prediction Center. This renaming marked the formal establishment of the SPC under its current name, co-located with the National Severe Storms Laboratory and the local National Weather Service Forecast Office. Since then, the SPC has continued to develop its forecasting products, including the National Fire Weather Outlook in 1998 and the Day 3 Convective Outlook in 2001, solidifying its role as the primary U.S. Center for Severe Weather Prediction. The Storm Prediction Center issues 4 main convective outlooks: a Day 1, Day 2, Day 3, and Day 4 through 8 outlook. The Day 1 outlook updates 5 times a day, the Day 2 outlook updates twice a day, and the Day 3 and Day 4 through 8 outlooks updates once a day. The Day 1, 2, and 3 outlooks show colored shapes on a map of the United States indicating the threat level for severe weather that day, which includes tornadoes, hail, and wind. These threat levels are categorized from marginal to high, with slight, enhanced, and moderate in between. The Day 4 through 8 outlook is more broad, showing either the predictability of severe weather being too low or a 15 or 30% chance of seeing thunderstorms within 25 miles of a singular point. The Day 1 and 2 outlooks show probabilities for tornadoes, wind, and hail with a percent correlated to a color. While those categories and probabilities will remain, the Storm Prediction Center is adding new conditional intensity groups to highlight exactly how intense hazards like tornadoes, wind, and hail will be. Previously, the SPC drew a hatched area on outlooks to describe where particularly intense storm hazards should be expected based on the environmental conditions and types of storms that are forecasted. With the latest updates, the term hatched area takes on a whole new meaning. The new conditional intensity groups are split into 3 different line patterns, each indicating a level. There will be 3 different intensity levels for tornadoes and wind, and 2 intensity levels for hail, each with different meanings depending on the hazards. For tornadoes, No intensity level on an outlook will mean EF0 to EF1 tornadoes possible. Intensity level 1 will mean max of EF2 tornadoes possible, level 2 will mean max of EF3 tornadoes possible, and level 3 will mean a max of EF4 tornadoes are possible. On the wind side, no intensity level on an outlook means winds of less than 64 knots are possible. Intensity level 1 means all storm modes are possible, as well as winds greater than 65 knots. Intensity level 2 means bow echoes and derechos are possible, and intensity level 3 means a high-end derecho, which is usually ongoing already, is possible. Finally, on the hail side, no intensity level means less than 2-inch hailstones are possible. Intensity level 1 means supercell environments with greater than 2-inch hailstones are possible. And finally, intensity level 2 means long track supercells with the largest hail being greater than 3.5 inches are possible. With these changes, the Storm Prediction Center is aiming to give the public more information about the severity of the hazards that are being forecasted. This is in contrast to the previous system where the severity only had to do with the categorical shading and was widely up for interpretation. Severe weather season in the United States is usually from March to June, but severe weather can form anywhere at any time of the year. As we head into this year's season, it is important to remain weather aware, check your local forecasts in the Storm Prediction Center, and to have a plan in place in the event that severe weather strikes. For Weather or Not, I'm Frank Gargione.
The warm-up from this weekend is expected to continue as we head further through your spring break week. But first, here's a weekend recap. Your Friday is going to be warmer than what we've been seeing the beginning of this week, with a high of 57 and a low of 44 overnight, with overcast conditions and a potential shower here or there. But conditions are going to be quite pleasant if you are planning on getting out of state college for spring break. It shouldn't impact your travel conditions whatsoever. Now, Saturday's a different story as that system begins to move through the region, bringing widespread showers and potential thunderstorms. Although that does sound like a bit of a bummer, if you are stuck here, temperatures are going to be up to 68 degrees with a low of 48. As we head into Sunday, there's going to be a bit of a cool down because of that system that moved through, but we are still expecting a high of above 15 to 20 degrees above your average, with a high of 60 and a low of 42 and partly sunny conditions. So overall, quite mild as you head into your spring break week. Temperatures are going to be well above average for the beginning of the week. Monday, it's going to be mostly sunny with a high of near 70. Tuesday, similar story with a high just above that. Wednesday, we're going to be seeing a system move through and bring up the temperatures to their peak for the week of around 74 degrees. But after that, things are going to be rainy and temperatures are going to drop off quite steeply, with Thursday dropping just above our average of 45 and Friday bringing us right back down to that average. And again, wet conditions throughout the rest of the week. Now, here is your Weather Whiz Quiz answer.
And the answer is C, evaporative cooling.
We're actually supposed to see some evaporative cooling this weekend after that system moves through on Saturday, but not so much as where we're going to be getting close to average. We're actually supposed to be staying 10 to 15 degrees above average.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Weather or Not. Join us again next week for another edition of Weather or Not.